Welcome to Alvernia, a farming village on the edge of, somewhere. On the peripheries, where emphasis on a peaceful life of agriculture, botany, farming, and social interaction through agriculture, botany, farming, and maybe some mining. I came to study this place's culture, ethnographically speaking, since there are so few fictional game worlds that can really be culturally explored in depth, other Rune Factory and Harvest Moon games aside. And indeed, when I came here, many different things caught my eye, calling out to be studied. Alvernians' incredibly heavy emphasis on schedule, the public sharing of issues, or the heavy ritualization of social interaction. Sadly, due to the limitations of this class, I won't go into them here. They'll probably be released on a DVD extra or bonus Easter egg or something. Instead, the focus of this presentation, the most alarming issue in all of Alvernia, will be monsters. A cultural construction or abused animals. I draw upon the ideas of Smedley and Smedley as well as Hurd. These ideas are that race is a social construction about a specific group, and that the entire group holds these traits genetically throughout the entire racial construction. I also briefly touch upon the idea of social contagions, research I conducted outside class. First of all, what are monsters? Monsters are creatures from the first forest, another dimension. They enter the world through these holes in the fabric of reality, and when they sustain enough damage, they destabilize and return there. All creatures from the first forest are called monsters, from the harmless little chickens to the bow-wielding orcs. Yes, they are both considered the same exact thing, a monster. Orcs and goblins, by all appearances, are entirely sentient. They wear clothes in similar fashion to Alvernians, and wield bows, clubs, and swords with a great amount of skill, even having different battle strategies when attacking. Just because they are always violent, and we're unable to communicate with them, does that mean they're suddenly as dumb as the apple thing? Are the apple things even that animalistic? Even some non-humanoid creatures can be trained to do delicate tasks, such as harvesting, while other creatures can do little more than follow you around. Can we really lump every single first forest creature into the same overarching label of monster? To begin to approach what's going on, I propose that these worlds are inherently linked. Through these little rips in the space-time continuum, all kinds of different creatures are coming through. Some defend the land they stand on vehemently, while others will run or not even care. Closing the portals is only temporary, and they will only reform. And creatures from the first forest are spilling over. You get some creatures probably just building nests and foraging here as any animal would. Any normal animal, really. But in the case of goblins and orcs, this move might be actually a bit more. The entry into Alvernia may be entirely intentional, trying to expand into new lands. Orcs and goblins aren't settling or forming large groups, and are often found near plots of land or mines, and they endlessly replace themselves from the forest. What I'm thinking is that these people are actually guarding their natural resources and territory. These are their plots of lands that they themselves are harvesting the local grasses from to use in their permanent settlements back in the forest. These lands where they materialize are especially useful because the climate is controlled, weather the same throughout the entire year. They don't appear to want or are trying to take over the town because the town suffers from all 4 seasons. Due to some weird tectonic movements, mining is also made much easier because boulders containing precious ores and gems are found on the surface. No wonder they would attack anyone trying to come near. This is their precious claim that they discovered, and they are defending the miracle locations with their lives. The Alvernians don't even recognize these claims because they are just monsters. They're from the first forest and they don't belong here. This is a full-on land dispute between two cultures comparable to the colonization of the Americas or Africa. The agriculture society of the Alvernians aren't recognizing the hunter-gatherer and less advanced culture of the orcs and goblins, but neither do the orcs and goblins recognize the Alvernians' claim as they themselves migrated onto the land. As I've said, the Alvernians don't even recognize goblins and orcs as anything other than dumb beasts. It's not so much cultural construction of different inherent racial traits among relatively equal human beings, but attributing these people with the same exact stereotypes as one would a dog or a cow. It's not that these monsters are hated. No. It's that they are inherently accepted as dangerous, violent animals, a stereotype probably generated by years of war and miscommunication. Killing them is nothing, and stealing from them is even less. This kid said we should steal the shirt off an orc's back just so he could have a tablecloth. That's a bit extreme, however, and there are those who believe that the monsters are actually kind. They can be raised and be taken care of. All monsters, treated equally. All monsters can live like each other in the same barn, eating the same feed, and being petted and trained in the same exact ways, and the humanoid ones are allowed to help, water, and gather crops on the farm. Yes, though they think nothing of it, the Alvernians partake in the lowliest form of sentient slavery, and not even acknowledging that, though these creatures have the skill to water and harvest, that they are intelligent beings, and, again, are no better or worse than the sheep. The saddest part is that barely anyone even encounters these monsters on a day-to-day basis. Some people stay on the outskirts of where they live, and sometimes they wander into areas that contain these monsters. They usually do not linger, not even interacting with any of the creatures much at all. Only one person encounters these creatures, and he's the one trying to steal their resources, by my observation. So these racial constructions are almost entirely formed by second-hand knowledge and brief moments of spying. The Alvernians are people closely packed together, contained and protected from the rest of the world. It may be that all of the stereotypes of these dangerous monsters are merely rumors initiated by one person in contact with them, and that these rumors spread like wildfire to a widespread constructed fear of everything having to do with first forest beings. Even the monsters that are tamed are not allowed in houses for fear of what they would do. As a small note, there are actually other racial constructions among the Alvernians themselves, or really one construction between elves and humans. This is mostly perpetuated by the elf Jake, and this is how one is supposed to see racism, an arbitrary belief that is easily mocked. He believes that humans are intelligent, or sentient at least, but merely less than elves, with little or no supporting ground. Neither of the other elves in this community hold this viewpoint, but it is interesting to compare the easily picked out and mocked racist viewpoint of Jake, while the huge monster stereotype goes completely unquestioned by the community. In conclusion, taking the sleepy little Arcadia that is Alvernia, one would see the surface of a pleasant farming village that publicly shares their issues and follows a very strict schedule, but from the smallness comes a small-mindedness, a tight network of racializing every first forest denizen as a monster, a being that is violent and mindless. I dispute that idea, seeing a culture of fear and slavery for what it really is, a long-standing land dispute with the ideas and concepts fueled by wildfire rumors about the unknown.